Hi, my name is Mitra. I'm a licensed tour guide in Rome and Italy, and I'm also a Virtuoso travel advisor. Today, we're going to talk about me. I'm going to tell you all about me and how I ended up where I am today. So let's start with the basics. Where am I from? This is a bit of a complicated question to answer. You see, I'm a little bit of a one-woman United Nations in one singular body. My mother is from the Finnish Laplands, above the Arctic Circle. So way up in Santa Claus country. So my family has been in the same place for about 40 generations in a small village of 700 people surrounded by 7 mountains and a lake in the middle. Since the era of my grandmother, so post-war, Lapland was burned down by Nazis, and a lot of people work with tourism and renting out rooms for tourists, and then it became a cabin rental business. Now it's my uncle who runs it, so it's 75 years my family has been in tourism. My father is from Iran. Him and my mother, they met in Athens in Greece, and then I am actually born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. So by passport I have Swedish nationality. I have lived a little bit everywhere in the world. I've traveled to over 75 countries in the world as well. Ever since I was young, I had a travel bug. My mother traveled a lot with me, instilled the love of traveling, and I continued as a teenager into my early 20s and just kept on going. Just loved traveling. Had double jobs. Even when I worked in fancy corporate jobs, I still went and bartended or attended coat checks in the weekends, plus did night jobs, all so I could just fund my love for travel. Then I got recruited to come to Rome to be a tour guide. This is a bit of an odd story. So I was working corporate, and in the early year 2000, telecom had been doing really well, and then telecom was not doing very well. So I was a project manager at a leading Swedish telecom company, and I was also Six Sigma black belt, and so this is something that means something to some people, will mean nothing to other people, it doesn't matter. But it was very rigid and corporate, let's put it that way. But in the early 2000s, after telecom was crashing and there was a lot of layoffs, I ended up actually being really overworked. A lot of us who were left in the companies, we ended up absorbing other people's jobs, so we were working double jobs for single salaries. But just the time became too much and I was burning out. So I talked to my HR manager, who had then managed to put me into one of the layoffs, and so I got a severance package and I quit, and then I started to kind of search my way. What did I want to do? I took a job as a store manager for a year, thinking that would be easier, but seeing as I always have to rise to a challenge, I took the one shop in a chain of shops that was running with a loss, and then in 3 months turned it into a profit. So I was not resting, however. It was fun, but it wasn't restful. I went to England. I trained show jumping with my horse because I'm an equestrian since an early age as well. And then I was deciding maybe I'll try working at a smaller company. Well, turns out it wasn't just corporate I wanted away from, it was office politics in general. So then I went back to the drawing board, and I had planned to move to Paris. I had studied French for 10 years in school, because in Scandinavian schools we do start with English very early on, and then we start a second foreign language also in middle school. So by the time we graduate, it's about a decade we've been studying the same language if we are consistent with it. I was gonna move to Paris. That was it. That was my plan. I love Paris. I love the city, I love her history, I thought it was amazing. But at the same time, besides my finance degree from university that got me into corporate to begin with, I had been taking evening classes and weekend courses at the universities in Stockholm for history. And one of my professors told me that I was following the same curriculum as the history program, so why didn't I just go and chase another degree? So let's just say that history was a really big interest, as it was, especially ancient history. What originally got me into history was actually the Mayans and the Incas, and then I got really into Greek and Roman and Persian, all the classical old histories. So I'm on my way to Paris, so I think, at least in my head, and then I meet friends through friends who come to Stockholm. My friend was busy. I ended up guiding them around for a couple of days until she wasn't busy. 6 months after they leave, I start getting emails of them trying to convince me to come to Rome and be a tour guide. And you know what I was thinking? The same stereotype I then spent years fighting with people coming to Rome. Is it even a real job? Turns out it most definitely is. In countries as heavily laced with history, like Spain, Italy, Greece, there's a very strict badge system, a badge, a tour guide license. In Greece, they have to take a 3-year university degree. In Spain, there's a massive amounts of examination. And in Rome, turns out, to be a legal tour guide, I had to study 25,000 protected sites, not just in Rome, but the entire state of Lazio, and take an exam that from beginning to end lasted 2 years. But I did it, and I got my license, and I became a tour guide. And all of a sudden, the whole plan about maybe I'll stay for 1 year turned into year 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And then eventually, down the road, I ended up also having 2 children. So now I'm also a mother. I have 2 kids. I know Rome really well from a single person's aspect because that's how I spent years living here. Then I know Rome out of a couple's aspect, and I know Rome out of a family aspect. And then of course with the big Italian families, I know all about Rome or Italy when it comes to arranging events, weddings, parties, baptisms, you name it. This is now full range. It is now 17 years that I have been in Rome since I came the first time and thought I would stay a year. And in 2022, I'm entering my 17th year here instead. So then what happens? I was growing as a tour guide. I started to take on more and more work. I became a small tour operator, a boutique tour operator, would arrange travels and arrangements. And then I kept growing. And then I became a DMC, a destination management company. I merged my company with someone else that handled ticket sales, a merger that wasn't necessarily the most successful one in terms of personal relations, but that's not always the case in business, and as long as business works right, that's all that matters to some. But for me, this was already a pretty shaky starting point that then got worse by the pandemic that hits in March 2020. We went from being told that everything was just fine and we just had to wash our hands, and a few days later the Italian Prime Minister is on national TV telling us that we were about to get locked into our homes on national lockdown. On March 11th, I turned the key of my office for the last time. I sent home 8 employees, and then that was it. My part of this business was over. And I didn't know what to do. I got onto social media. I started giving tours for free, and from March to August of 2020, I was online 7 nights a week, giving free lessons in cooking classes, art and history lessons, and we create a really beautiful community around that, truly bringing out what is the best of social media. I never charged people for this. I did not think it would be fair. The way I had lost everything, including a house, would eventually be lost as well. We had to sell our house. I did not want other people, if they lost money, to feel that I had been part of money that they had spent that they could have saved. So I promised people I would simply sit there online until they were all out of lockdown. And so we were all together every night until August in 2020. Then 2021 came, and unfortunately not much changed. The Italian state had given me, at this point, only 1,200 euros, which by the end of 2021 amounted to about 30 cents a day to survive on. But I just kept going because there was not much else I could do. As a female entrepreneur, there's often very few people that you can ask for help from. But in my case, I was fortunate because the support I had was the online community I had built in 2020. So coming into 2022, the tour guide is no longer. At least not only as a tour guide. In 2022, this Tourguide Mitra, Mitra Talman, I am now also a Virtuoso travel advisor. After almost 20 years in the business and being invited to be part of one of the greatest, most respectable travel networks in the world, I am honored and I am grateful that I can start 2022 with a sense of hope and gratitude. So how does this change my job? Not really a lot. Tourguide Mitra will always exist. She will exist more perhaps as a premium product for clients. But Tourguide Mitra, morphing into Mitra Talman, the travel advisor, Travel by Mitra, is the person that won't sell you just a product. I sell you an entire process. I will use all the expertise I have in travel planning, in tour planning, from knowing when the light hits the right spot, in what season for you to take your best photos, or what time is best to enter into buildings to get the light coming through the stained glass the most perfect way. This is the type of expertise and taking away the stress from travel planning. And also, when people want to book a 4 or 5 star hotel, of course they can book it by themselves. But if they book it with me, I give them a bunch of added value, perks that can amount to thousands of dollars or euro in just money you never had to spend, but I can give you just because I'm a travel advisor. This is the benefit of working with Virtuoso. That's why I accepted it. It's a magnificent network, and of course I'm not an expert in everything. I travel a lot, but that does not make me an expert. But through this network, I have access to all the best experts everywhere else. So I'm really excited for 2022 and this new chapter of combining everything I've learned, whether it has been triumphs or successes or mistakes or all the times I fell down. But as I always tell to my followers, in the end of the day, all we gotta do is we gotta get up, we gotta dress up, and we gotta show up, if for nothing else, for ourselves. So I hope you wanna join me on this adventure. Thanks for watching. I hope you stick around. And to know how to book tours or to initiate a travel planning process or see the benefits that come from it, or simply to learn about travel and history, subscribe to this channel. This is now where you're gonna find Tourguide Mitra and Travel by Mitra existing as one cohesive unit, offering you the best of travel, services, and everything else. Remember, if you dream it, me as your travel advisor, I will deliver it. Ciao!